Hello Internet, welcome to the channel. My name is Frankie, and in today's video we are going to be starting a brand new franchise mode zoo, and that is going to be a mini zoo themed around Halloween. As October's coming, this is being put out the day before October, I know, but that's just because I put videos out on a Monday, so we're just going to get ahead of it. That allows us to make extra videos this month, which is ideal. So throughout the month of October we're going to be making videos around this mini zoo. There's going to be Halloween themed, and I'm starting with one habitat today, and that is going to be for the Striped Skunk. I'm going to try and make this zoo with lighting in mind, which is something I haven't really done before. I want this zoo to look quite spooky at night as well, but allow you to be able to actually see what's going on. I don't normally deal with lights or anything in that realm, so I'm really going to try and pay attention to that. It's going to be a nice, interesting challenge for me to do. What I'm doing to begin with is I'm building a church. Now, there's nothing too special about this church, except for me, it's kind of special because it is based on Father Gabriel's church from The Walking Dead. If you've seen that, you may recognise this church. If not, it's going to look like a fairly typical wooden church you find in the southern states of the US. It's that kind of church build. So I am doing this by first putting down some plaster pieces just to get the kind of general structure for the building, and then using some white planks I'm going to be doing some layering to get that proper nice I've completely forgotten what the actual name is for that effect, but basically the layering effect of wood where it kind of cascades down the wall. I want that to be how this looks, because you don't have that building piece in game. You just have planks that are nice and neatly put together, but you don't have them overlapping like this, and that's what I really want to go for. So that is the main thing about this build that takes a very, very long time. I've sped up the build of the entire church to around 12 minutes, but in reality it took about 3 hours. Is it worth it? I'm not entirely sure. I like it, but that's just because I love The Walking Dead, and therefore it's representing that, and it has extra meaning to me, I guess. But let me know in the comments down below if you think it was worth spending this much time on it. So what's the general plan for this zoo? I've made a small list of animals that I want to be in this zoo. If you have any recommendation, let me know. Put them in the comments down below. But do bear in mind that this is a console build, so it's going to have to be animals that are available on console at the moment. So we're going to be starting with the Striped Skunk, because I want to lean into animals that came from the Twilight pack, as most of them are nocturnal. Don't know why I said most, all of them are nocturnal, because that's the entire point of the pack. And we're also going to be leaning into some of the other nocturnal animals that we have in the game. We're trying to keep them smaller. Because this is a mini zoo, I don't want like massive bear habitats or something. I'm thinking the largest carnivore I have in here is probably going to be the clouded leopard, because I've seen so many of those at zoos where I actually never see them. I say I've seen so many of them, but they're always hidden. I've been to lots of zoos in the past, and I very, very rarely actually get to see those animals. They are normally hidden away in the really thick, dense, lush, incredibly healthy looking plant life that kind of packs out their habitats. So that's why I'm thinking of going with that particular animal for our largest carnivore, because I think it just lends itself to that kind of creepy environment. Potentially a wolverine as well, that could be kind of cool. But yeah, anyway, more about this build. At the moment I'm kind of building a terrace area, so we've got a couple steps to come down from our main door. I'm using an Indian themed door just because I really love the wooden textures that thing has. I really like that, and I think it looks quite nice on this building. And then using some more planks, I'm going to be making some railings for this entryway. It's very, very uniform. Well, at least it's as uniform as I can realistically make it without it being a bit too complicated. It's a lot of copy and pasting this build, but to get the initial pieces in and like originally made, it does take a lot of time. So there's a lot of back and forth with this. It's quite frustrating, I'm going to be honest, but I do feel like it is worth it. Now, if you would like to have any say in what happens in this zoo or keep up to date with this Halloween themed zoo, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. It is completely free to you. It makes me feel like I have more friends, and it means that my videos will appear in your subscription feed for absolutely free, meaning that you'll get notified every time that one of these videos is uploaded, and you can see this zoo evolve as we build it. When it came to building the gable pieces for this building, it was much the same process as with the rest of it, which is to take your main building pieces, which in this case are the large triangle pieces, pop them in place, and then using those white planks, we kind of just lay them on top of each other going up. However, when I was doing the square pieces, the plain wall pieces, I just had to move them up until I was happy. And for the gables, because they're triangular, I need to have the wood kind of match that shape. So I need to go up on one axis and then toggle the axis to the world axis and then move it slightly to the left and then back to the object axis, up, back to the world axis and left again. It's a very, very tedious process, and annoyingly I can't just flip it to make it work on the other side, because the way that the wood is layered means that it would be going inwards rather than outwards, which would not work. So this process, it takes a very long time, but I do think it gives me the effect that I was wanting. So it's easy to say now that I don't mind. At the time, I was hating doing this, and I'm not going to do it again. If you do like how this church looks, I'm going to pop it on the console workshop so that you can download it and add it to your zoos, because I feel like it'd be a waste if I just kept it to myself. I have also made a couple props for this zoo, one of which is a massive pumpkin, and I've got the recording for that. I built it in sandbox mode and then created the blueprint so that I can import it at a later point in this zoo build. I also made a few little cartoony looking ghosts, and annoyingly, for some reason, I didn't record that. I thought I did, but I didn't. So annoyingly, I don't have the footage of making those, but I will be adding them to this specific build, because to the left of this church I'm going to create a graveyard. This actual church is mainly just a set piece. It's not going to be interactable at all. Nothing's going to be done with it. It's literally just to kind of create a vibe and add to the scenery of this zoo. The way that this is going to interact with a habitat is literally that we're just going to have a fenced off area to the left, which will create a graveyard where our striped skunks are going to live. I did consider hollowing this church out and making it have a proper interior with some pews and some support structures and stuff inside, but because of how complicated I made that tower at the front, it really kind of encroached on the inside space, meaning that to tidy it up inside I'd have to block off the ceiling and stuff, and it just wouldn't look right. So I'm not going to be doing that. It would be really cool to have this building be like a walkthrough exhibit for the bats, but I've got a different idea for those in this zoo anyway, so we're going to use them in the future. What I'm doing right here is exactly what I've been doing all along, with the wood slats kind of piled up on top of each other, just going up the breast of this tower, making sure that we've got this uniform texture and building technique all the way around this building. I also just kind of made a slatted sort of looking gable for this top bit that is too thin, just because no gables are going to fit on that. I made this the clock tower thingy, I just made it a weird dimension so that I couldn't put any roof tiles on it, and when I did put that pitched roof on, it just doesn't look right. I kept it on there for a little while, but what I end up doing is taking that off, and then using my own planks, I'm just going to create my own pitched roof for the top of that tower. And then this building is basically done. I just need to add a few different windows and some lighting. I'm going to use 2 of the hung torches at the front, either side of the door, and we're going to add a buttload of decals to the roof. I want it to look worn. Now, I could try adding some decals to the walls and stuff, but because of how the ridges work, how they kind of cascade, nothing's going to sit on them properly, if I were to add a decal, they would have white lines in them and it wouldn't look right. So I'm going to reserve it for just a roof space, and I'm going to use a bunch of the grunge decals and a load of the moss as well to make it look like over the years the roof has got very dirty and moss has grown up there as well, because that happens on basically all roofs, especially an abandoned church like this one. And with the completion of the decoration on the roof and stuff, we can move on to making this into an actual habitat for real life animals. Now, you may notice at this point, just before I actually start building the habitat area, we are running kind of low on money. We have used half of the starting budget, which is $40,000, just on this church. And it's not even going to be usable, it's just scenery. So we are going to have to take out a few loans. I don't do it right away. I feel like I can get through it. I'm fairly confident in the fact that I could get to the stage that I want to with all the money that I start with. However, it does not go that way, because as soon as I start adding plants to the habitat, they're just so much more expensive than I think they are, and the price racks up pretty quickly. For creating the perimeter for this habitat, what I'm going to do is use the Twilight Gothic iron fence pieces and just create a basic perimeter. I did initially start out with the idea of it being this tall, like a 2-scale graveyard. However, I did end up deciding to sink this fence into the ground a little bit because it is just so tall. It just looks a bit silly to keep in the skunks. If it was a large mammal of some kind, some megafauna, then yeah, for definite. If we're going to be having deers or bears or something, yeah, sure, let's have fences tall. But we're just keeping in skunks. They can't jump over this, especially as it's spiky on top. So yeah, I decided to sink this into the ground a little bit, make it a bit more of an appropriate height for those animals. To actually make this into a barrier, all I need to do is go over to the barrier tab and select null barrier. This is an invisible type of barrier that you can place, which means that the animals will be treating any physical objects they can't get past as the actual barrier, and if they do manage to get past it and then go past the null barrier that you put in place, you will then be alerted that the animal has escaped its habitat. You can also only place your habitat gates along the null barrier perimeter, which is what I'm doing here, just adding a small metal fence gate to the barrier that I put down earlier, and it's actually like the perfect height, which is ideal. I'm just going to pop down some of our staff buildings, and I'm going to be using the Twilight theme just because I really want to lean into that for this zoo. And this is also partly where I spend all my money. Shouldn't have done this. I should not have chosen the ones that are themed, because they cost so much more because they're made of so many different building materials. I figured for the zoo we could go for like a cobblestone path, because that feels pretty spooky as well. And from there, all I need to do is take out a few loans because I've spent all my money, and we can finally start creating a lovely habitat for these guys to live in. Now, the way that I got to making this into more of a graveyard was to use various stone pieces from a couple different themes, I believe. The headstones are made out of 2 stone pieces from the Twilight pack, kind of just pushed together, and then the actual tomb kind of area. Only some of them have this. That, I believe, is a European thingy from the European theme. I did also experiment with using some signs and sinking them into the surface of the stone to try and have some like names or something on these graves as well, but it didn't quite work. I did something very similar in Primate Isles with the Galapagos tortoise sign, but it doesn't quite work here, so we're just going to move on. And the best way to make these look varied is I copy and paste them all, put uniformly across the graveyard to make sure we got a couple rows. And then just one by one, I select the headstones and then kind of pivot them on different axes and sink them into the ground at different levels and stuff. So it looks like this graveyard is aged, and the headstones and the tombs have started to sink into the ground a little bit more. It looks like it's been abandoned. And we're going to try and mimic that when it comes to placing our plants as well. This is going to be really thick with bushes and flowers. It's going to look like it has been left for a long time and it's become really overgrown, which is great for the animals, and it just really lends itself to this spooky vibe that we're going for as well. Speaking of Primate Isles, don't worry, we will be going back there at some point. I just want to spend the month of October focusing on a bit more of a spooky vibe and kind of lean into that Halloween theme. I know a lot of people do love Halloween. My sister is one of those people who just wishes that Halloween could be every day of the year, which I never understand when people will say they want either like Halloween or Christmas or whatever to be every day of the year, because surely it's not special then, it's not limited, it's just every single day and therefore it becomes normal. So yeah, never really understood that. But yeah, I know there are a lot of people that absolutely love Halloween, so hopefully you guys are enjoying this series or will enjoy this series. Like I said, let me know in the comments down below if you have any ideas. I'd really like to try and make this more of a community build. I'm also going to be placing a bunch of cracked decals on the stonework as well, to try and just add that bit more like texture, realism, just make it a lot more immersive. And once I'm done with those details on the headstones and stuff, I'm gonna stop talking for a little bit, because we are doing all of the foliage, the best part of any build. We are adding the plant life. So I'm going to sit back and let you guys enjoy. You already know my kind of idea behind this. We want it to look really dense and like it's overgrown, just full of life. So enjoy. But of course, do make sure you stick around to the end so that you can see all of the beautiful cinematics and get a decent look at how this place turned out. But just before I shoot off, I want to say thank you so much for having watched this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel to see more videos in this Halloween zoo series. Like I said, let me know in the comments stuff you want to see, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.